Hey, welcome to Fixing It Blind. So we're gonna do a little live stream on some lasers. If you guys got any questions, let me know. This is a Atomstack A5, and it is the Pro. Sorry if you hear some noise in the background. Got my heater going. Plus I got a evacuation, keep the smoke out. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get it started here. So we're gonna frame it. I'm using light burn. It's one of the best things for laser engraving and cutting and such. Works with the Atomstack right out of the box. Nothing you have to do. Where some other lasers you have to buy a different controller. All right, so I'm gonna hold shift and I'm gonna hit frame, and what that's gonna do, that's gonna turn the laser on so we can see the blue dot. I'm gonna move you guys so you're more on what we're doing here. Excuse me, sorry, just getting over COVID here. So we're gonna go ahead and start the engraving. And now you're gonna hear air because this is a cutting process. We need forced air. And basically what it does is we've got a little air pump back here. Let's see, sorry, right here. You can't see it, but it's a little air pump, goes through an air hose right here, goes down to the tip and blows air down. Basically it's keeping the lens clear and stopping spatter and such and smoke from going up and making the lens dirty. So what we're going to be cutting out right now is we're cutting out some Christmas ornaments, try and maybe sell. I do have an Etsy store set up that the wife is working on getting it all perfected. Now these are diode lasers. They're blue. Okay, not good to get the reflection in your eyes. Can definitely cause you to go blind. They're pretty powerful. This one's a 5.5 watt is what they say. They do make a 10 watt, which is pretty nice. The only thing that I don't like about this laser is, I mean, the build quality is nice, but this bracket here on the back, that this is the actual laser module, this bracket hangs down too low, and this shroud hangs down too low that goes around the laser. Now you can take the shroud off, but you still have that bracket in the back. And what that does is that'll catch on different objects sometimes. So if you're cutting something and the wood's warped, like this wood is warped, thin plywood is almost impossible to get completely flat, right? And what it'll do is it'll actually grab the wood and then start sliding the piece, and it'll ruin your cut. Now when you're cutting wood, it's a really slow process. I'm going about 200 millimeters per second, or sorry, per minute, and settings at 100% power, and then 3 passes to cut cleanly through. And this is only 1/8 inch thick plywood. Now I did try cutting some 1/4 inch, and it did a terrible job at cutting 1/4 inch. 1/4 inch, so 1/8 inch is roughly 3 millimeters thick. 1/4 inch is about 6 millimeters. Now this is a 1/4 inch piece that I did cut. The problem is it takes like 15 passes, and you can't get the laser lower because there's a warp in the wood, right? When you try to bring the laser down so that it'll focus more in the middle of the wood so it'll cut better, then it runs into the wood, it crashes into the wood because of that bracket that I was saying. Have you ever gone to a store and they have the signs that are like burnt into the wood? That's what this is. It's laser engraving. There's also a thing called wood burning. That's usually done more by hand though. This is basically using light to do the same thing, but in my opinion, probably better resolution than I could do by hand for sure. Now using a CO2 laser is definitely faster for cutting wood and engraving as well. But they're also, a couple $1,000s for a good one. You can buy one of the cheap K40 lasers and they're okay, but by the time you get the upgrades to use them the way you want, you're into it about $1,200, $1,500, So I ended up going with one of these diode lasers. Now this thing over here, let's see, can you guys see that? Yeah, so this is the Atomstack Air Assist, okay? So these little rubber feet, it's basically just like an aquarium pump, but a little bit stronger. And its job is to force air through this hose and down through the laser to keep the lens clear and keep the work surface clear of debris. If you ever want to do any type of cutting, you definitely need air assist. I tried it without it, and all I did is smoke up all the smoke just rises and goes up onto the lens, and it's no good at all. Let me know if you guys like seeing any of these kind of things, how these lasers work, or anything like this. This is kind of a hobby that I decided I wanted to start taking on and turn it into a business. So we're going to make these Christmas ornaments and bring them to like craft shows or sell them online. Like I said earlier, I got an Etsy store going on, and you can buy them. We ship them right straight to your house and everything. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Let me know if you can hear me fine. I'm using a lav mic through my phone here to do this. You can see we're starting to get the insides of one of the ornaments done. And what'll happen is you can see part of the wood has already dropped out, and then other parts are still stuck in. So what we'll do is once it's done, we'll take that piece out and very nicely with the tip of a blade, start working those pieces out so we don't break any of the smaller detail pieces. One thing at first when I first started doing this is I didn't have an air extraction system, right? And so all the smoke was just filling my garage. It was pretty bad, especially when I tried cutting. Engraving isn't so bad because it's a very light amount of smoke. So, it's pretty tolerable. But when you start cutting, it's just a horrendous amount of smoke that comes off this thing. And it comes underneath the board. So basically I've got these 1/4 inch pieces from me attempting to cut 1/4 inch board on each corner of this plywood, and that creates an air gap underneath it. And then I have a piece of spoil wood underneath there, which is just a random board. I'm using MDF. I don't recommend that you use MDF because when the laser hits the glue that's in that particulate board, it's not pleasant. It is intense smoke. Let me know what you guys think a good price for these little Christmas ornaments are. And if that's something that you guys would be interested in. Find it pretty amazing that we can use light to burn through the wood, but in a way that it's not just setting it on fire, it's actually burning a very thin line. All that is it's a diode. It's a very specific diode, but it's just like an LED that you have in your house, right? But it's focused, and I don't know. I don't even know how it all works. If you guys know anybody who has a good explanation on how lasers work, that'd be awesome. Let me know. Now this laser is the Atomstack A5. It's an okay laser. It's high quality. The only thing I don't like is this laser head. The bracket that it mounts to back here, it goes way too low and it runs into your projects. Get one with the taller little cylinder that you use for focusing, like the auteurs. Reason being is then your laser can sit this far off the object. Now, I do some like wooden utensils and try to get that dish of a spoon, right? That cup portion with only having a 2 millimeter gap. I mean, that's not much at all. That's not much at all over, we got roughly 16 inches or so wide. It's 410 by 400 or something like that millimeters, which is roughly 16 inches. But I would definitely recommend getting a different type of laser that's like this, like the auteurs. I might end up picking up one of them in the future. I do want to end up getting a CO2 laser, but we got to, work with what we have right now to get this business off the ground. Now, normally I do small engine repair on my channel here. Well, thank you. It is pretty awesome. You're in Panhandle, Florida. We got my wife, my fiance, whatever. We've been together 20 years. She's got some family up on the Panhandle of Florida. So how'd you guys do with that hurricane, the last one, Nicole? How did that affect you? I know it was pretty much just a strong storm by the time it hit you guys, but. Now, if you had like a Glowforge laser, that's a CO2 laser, this would probably be done almost already by now, cutting this wood. Now, if I was just engraving, it goes a lot faster. we can go, 4,500 millimeters per minute, whereas this we're going 200 millimeters per minute, and we got to do 3 passes. Whereas when we're just engraving, we don't have to do that. Like I said, I use a software called Lightburn, and it's a, I don't know, it's kind of like they do have a free laser software that you can use with these. Like, it's called Laser Gerbil, but it's kind of like building a car out of Legos versus building a car out of steel and stronger materials. It's a lot better. It has a lot more functions than Laser Gerbil does. And it's fairly cheap. I mean, it's like $60, and that's, I believe, a lifetime license for 2 computers. And so what I'll do is I'll make the designs on a computer, inside my house, because my garage is not heated all the time. I heat with wood for my garage, for my shop, and to heat with wood and keep it continuously warm is next to impossible. Now, this is the first time I've cut out this designs, and this is someone else's design that I bought. And I've noticed that you got to be careful when you're buying other people's designs, because sometimes it's not set up right. So like, there was gaps that had to be cut out, so I had to connect lines and fill spaces in. And oh wow, that's crazy! You got about 40-mile-an-hour wind gusts. And we had, I live up in Minnesota, and we had a storm come through. Well, first off, little story. I just set up one of them, what do you call them, a tent shed. And it's just poles, right, with like a tent material, thick tent material over top. And we had a storm come through that gave us between 60 and 70-mile-an-hour wind gusts. It took my shed, flipped it up over the above ground pool, it was one of them round ones, and onto the other side, almost into my neighbor's yard. And just to give you a reference, right, we're on 5 acres of land up here, and so we, it moved probably 50 feet. It got blown, and the only thing that stopped it was a row of trees and a fence. As far as what area they live in, I'm not exactly sure. I think it's more towards Central Florida on the Panhandle part. But I don't envy you living by Georgia. We went to Florida not too long ago, and we had to drive down through Georgia. Georgia is the worst state for driving across. Excuse me. Yeah, Georgia, there was so many cops. I mean, you absolutely do not speed when you're crossing Georgia. We've been down to Florida Keys and what's that called? Kissimmee, Florida, just south of what is that? Orlando, I think is what it is. Nice little area. I would love to live down there. The problem is the humidity. My fiance, she's got this trigeminal neuralgia, and so it's a nerve that feeds your face. And we're looking for a place because we got to get out of Minnesota. We got to get out of the cold because it triggers that. And they call it a suicide disease, right? because a lot of people who end up having it end up, ending their lives, which is unfortunate. Hers isn't quite that severe, but it is pretty severe. And so we're looking to move out of state, out of Minnesota. And we're thinking like Tennessee, Kentucky area, where you still have green, right? Green vegetation, but you're in the mountains. Because I don't know if you've seen any of the videos, but we've got goats, right? We absolutely love our animals. We got ducks, we have goats, we have chickens, and a goose named Boss. Oh, yeah, we were literally just through Indianapolis, a month and a half ago. We were going down to, we went down to Kentucky for a stay at this farm that they have a bunch of Scottish Highlands cattle, and she loves cows. I don't know what the deal is, but she loves cows. So we stayed at this Airbnb down there, and it was super cheap. It was less than $100 a night. It was awesome. But we drove past Indianapolis. It was kind of cool seeing the racetrack and stuff as we drove by. I don't know about you, but I'm a automotive fan. I like racing. I like classic cars. Not a big import kind of guy though. But yeah, so what we're doing here is we're cutting out Christmas ornaments on this Atomstack A5 laser. And it's a diode laser with air assist. So this is an upgraded laser. This is not how you will get it from the factory, okay? These things from the factory are about $350 to $450, depending on when you get them. And I don't recommend that you buy one, okay? Go buy an O-Tour or a different type of laser that doesn't have this big bracket here in the back, because this bracket comes down so low. So even if if you're doing something where you need the clearance, you can take the shroud off, but this bracket still hangs down. And this bracket actually is flipped upside down to give me a couple millimeters more clearance. Yeah, I'm not a big fan of bear meat. I do like venison, but one thing I noticed when we were down in Kentucky is that the bears down there, or sorry, not the bears, the deer. The deer are a lot smaller than what we have here. They're tiny, tiny deer. I mean, all of maybe 100 pounds, maybe, if you're lucky, 110. Well, that's too bad to hear about your dad in the sprint cars, but sprint car racing is one of my favorites to watch. I like a lot of the dirt track because I feel like it takes more skill to go fast on dirt than it does on tar. Don't get me wrong, tar is nice too, but I feel like them dirt track drivers, they have some pretty good skill. I always wanted to do some racing myself, but hence my name of my channel is called Fixing It Blind, right? I'm going blind. I've been going blind since I was born. Getting to the point now where I am legally blind. So, makes racing something that I just can't do. But I like to watch it. Are there any channels that you watch on YouTube? Now you can see how we're getting a little dark on this one here. It's because there's two lines that are cutting right next to each other. And so what we'll do afterwards, what we can do, is we can pop this out take the little pieces off and hit it with a little bit of sandpaper, and that'll clean that up. But in the future, what we can do is we can actually speed up the laser and do more passes. So instead of doing 200 at 3 passes, maybe we go up to 400 and we do 5 passes. And that'll help clean up that burning. Or we can also turn up the airflow. So I don't know if you can hear the difference, but I usually run at about 75%. But if I can turn it all the way up, and that will probably help that as well. Yeah, it is pretty cool. I don't know, do you know what 3D printers are? Or have you had any experience with those? But when 3D printers first became mainstream, I bought one to learn on, and then I bought a really nice one. And there was a website called 3D Hubs, and basically I set up a shop on 3D Hubs and more than paid for my machines by doing work for customers with prototyping and such. And then 3D Hubs, unfortunately, decided that they didn't want little guys like me and you on their platform anymore, and went basically to a commercial platform. And so they literally shut down our shops. If you didn't have a commercial contract with them, and they wouldn't give you one because you couldn't mass produce, they shut us all down. And so I ended up, just putting my printers into storage. I actually broke them out, I don't know, probably 3-4 months ago, and just started doing some projects of my own recently. Now, one of my favorite racing channels is, you've probably heard of it, Cletus McFarlane and Vice Grip Garage. I actually met Derek from Vice Grip Garage before I even knew he had a channel. He was at a car show in Isanti, Minnesota, and he had the 777. And I was there with the kids and my fiance, and we were just checking out the cars and seeing what was going on, and saw that car drive in. I'm like, oh, we gotta go check that out. And huge dude comes out of it, right? Just big old. He calls himself a Sasquatch because he's a big guy, right? He's super tall and just big. And he gets out of this little car. And, we'll just talk to him a little bit, but not a lot. But yeah, he actually used to live just down the road. Just down the road's like 70 miles from me, but I'm in a rural area, so everywhere is, 50, 60 miles, so. I'm going to add a little bit more airflow to it to help stop that burning, because it just burned this cat, and that's unfortunate because that is a highly detailed part. So I think what I'm going to have to do is do another run of these and maybe double the speed and double the cuts, the amount of passes. So right now what I'm doing is I'm actually on the computer here, and I'm looking at, there's these little Christmas cards that I have that are really cool. I'll show you, I'll get one printing after these are set up. And it's literally creates a wooden Christmas card, and it's got an ornament on the inside that you can just pop out. Let's see. Well, that's pretty sweet. Tony Stewart, I was a fan of him when I was younger. I don't follow NASCAR so much. I just feel like it's like it's too. A lot of the drivers are too whiny. I mean, to be honest, I feel like there's a lot of crying and not a lot of racing. Well, that's pretty sweet. Oh man, I forget his name, but I just seen a video of the race recently where he decided he was going to wall ride, and it actually worked. Got him up in, and he won the race. I forget who the driver was, but that was pretty crazy to see a video game move work in real life. You know. So how did you come to know a lot of the NASCAR drivers? Just from going to the races, or just because you live by a racetrack like that? Because a lot of them travel. Yeah, I think I'm gonna definitely have to do some faster settings and maybe more passes, because when you get two lines right next to each other, like in here, these are supposed to be little decorations, and it doesn't look good. Guess I don't understand. You're saying NASCAR's become political, or you know them because you're political? Well, I suppose a lot of NASCAR drivers, they did a lot of dirt track driving as well. So you probably met them through dirt track. Or, well, I guess you didn't say dirt track. What did you race when you were racing? Yeah, it works really well. I just wish that they would fix the clearance issue. Instead of having a 2 millimeter focus, I wish it was like 15 or 20 millimeters, you know, to get that laser spaced up off your workpiece. That would open it up a lot. Here, I'll be right back. I'm going to go grab an example and show you what I'm talking about. I guess I was right in assuming that you worked or that you raced dirt. Sorry, playing with the microphone here. But so you do the late models. Those are nice. I like watching the modifieds. You know, just because they're so loud. The thunder, you know, that you get from them, and then also those. Oh, what are they called? Legend cars. They're little and they have motorcycle engines in them. Those are fun, and then sprint cars are my favorite. But figure eights, though, man, that had to be pretty crazy. But see, you see how this is it's like a wooden spatula, but you see how the thickness varies, and it's also curved this way, right? And so I've got these really nice utensils that I actually take and I buy, right? And then I sand them so that they're nice and smooth. I get them wet to pop the grain, and then I sand them again. So when you guys buy these, they shouldn't ever get rough on you. You know, obviously years and years down the road, you might have to sand them, but all you have to do is just keep oiling them. But yeah, I can engrave on those. You know, you can engrave on the back, you can engrave on the handle if you wanted to. The problem I have with this laser, like I said, is it's way too close. So this is as high as I can engrave before it hits this curve. And there's nothing I can do about that, you know. The laser is that thick, and that's as close as I can get to it. So those Legend cars, they all use Yamaha engines, or is it just a specific class of motorcycle engine? Yeah, I think we're gonna get maybe 2 good ones out of this that are salvageable. I gotta change some settings. That's why we do tests. That's what this is. You know, otherwise I would just set it up so it'd be doing the whole board, but got to figure out some good settings. What do those cars weigh anyway? They got to be like right around 1,000 pounds. Yeah, shoot. It's burning that pretty bad. All right, I'm going to stop this cut because it's just this one and the next one have really fine detail, and it's just going too slow to properly engrave it here. Let's pop some of these out. Ideally, this is what you get. So if you look, come on, focus. You see how it's cutting that cat out, but it's burning the top. So we gotta speed it up and maybe do more passes, but faster. And then this is another one. This one turned out pretty good. A little bit of sanding on the top, and then a little sanding on the back, and she's good to go. All right, you see how it didn't quite cut this out, or it's not popping out real easy? So you just kind of got to work it, push it out, and I like to work it back and forth. You can see right there it didn't cut, and there it didn't cut. But you can take a razor blade and go in there and help it. Pop these pieces out. Guess we got a cat silhouette here. There we go. A little bit of sanding and a little bit of trimming on this back side here where this one was, and she'll be good to go. This one we stopped on. This one okay, so we should be able to pop this out as long as it cut. Looks like it burned it pretty bad. So this one's junk. All right, so we got to change some settings. Let's go faster. See, these things were supposed to stay hanging from here. So I'm just gonna make some changes here, and we'll try her again. So instead of 200, we're gonna go to 400. And then we're gonna bump it up to, maybe we'll do 7 passes at 400. All right, so let's get this. We're gonna move it. I like to always move it to the front. Just seems to be easier. Some people move it to the back. Make sure we're sitting on our things again. And then we're gonna move it to a position here. And this should be a good starting position. Move you guys. Come on now. Cooperate. Tripod doesn't want to move. Oh, come on. All right. Try to get you guys a little closer here. There we go. Now we can get almost like a top-down view of it. You know, we're going to drop it down. We're going to put it back at 5 passes. We can always do more passes. So we're going to frame it. And what this does is it moves the laser around so I can make sure it's all going to be on the wood. You can see right here, because the bow, she's hitting. But that's all right. Once a little bit of heat is applied, it'll actually kind of straighten out as it goes. All right, now you'll notice it'll move about twice as fast, but it's going to go more times around. Hey Lee, do you got cats? Do you like cats? It's weird, on my screen the laser looks purple, but in person it's blue. So basically what I did is I changed the settings, made the laser so it'll move faster. It'll spend less time in each spot. Oh shoot, I forgot to turn the air back on, dang it. And you see how right here, you can see the burn bleeding over. Yeah, I'm not a fan of cats myself personally. I've got, I got 4 of them, but they're all barn cats. They're out with the goats. They kind of keep small predators, skunks, raccoons, such like that away. Um, we have 3 dogs, a Great Pyrenees. She's about 140 pounds and she's small for her breed. And then we have a German Shepherd, English Shepherd mix, and he's an awesome little guard dog. Great with the kids. I don't have to worry about leaving the house when my kids are home alone. You know, they're teenagers now, but very protective. And then we got we call him our schizophrenic dog. He's a little mixed dog, and he sees and hears things and barks at things that just don't exist. You know, unless he's seeing something that we can't. But what kind of dog do you have? Let's get the root on this way. Yeah, pit bulls get a bad rap. You know, every pit bull that I've come across has always been one of the most loving dogs. Yeah, I don't know if you know, but we do some Airbnb stuff. So we've got 2 Airbnbs on our property. One's a camper that we rent out to guests, and we get people from the cities come up, or people from out of state come into town, visit some family or whatever, and they stay there. And so we meet a lot of people, and one thing I find is the lack of training in people's dogs, because we allow them to bring dogs. Well, we have goats and ducks and chickens and a goose, and then our cats that all just free roam our property, right? And we had one instance where a guest came and their dog got loose. It literally it drug the lady, probably about 10 feet across the yard, trying to chase my goats. So it's like people tell you that their dogs are trained, but they're not actually trained. And then you get other people who are like, oh yeah, it's okay trained, and that thing is like spot on. I feel personally like if if your dogs if your dogs aren't trained, they're going to be less happy, right? Because they don't know what you expect. They don't know, like my English Shepherd, he he's so people pleasing, right? He always wants to do things to make you happy, and if you don't train him, he doesn't know what to do, and then he gets yelled. Then they get yelled at, and I don't know. Excuse me. Yeah, I can do a face. I can do any photo basically. The thing is I have to change the contrast on it. So it's basically I convert it to black and white, and then I excessively add contrast to it, and that makes it so it looks good on an engraving. And if you were to check out like my Etsy shop, um, you'd see a coaster that I made for a guest or for a customer, and it was of their dog, and it turned out so freaking cool. Here, I'm gonna go grab a couple coasters to show you guys what we can engrave on. I'll be right back. Sorry about that, I'm back. Yeah, it's always good to see responsible pet owners. You know that it's the ones who think that they're and don't get me wrong, like these this guest in this instance, very well intentioned, right? But it's just they're young. They didn't they don't understand, and like I use e-collars with my dogs because we have land, right? We have 5 acres of land, and so if I want them outside off leash, right, I need to be able to get a hold of them in case, let's say a coyote or something comes in the yard, they're going to chase it off. And I need to be able to stop them, when they get to a certain point. And so I got my dogs all e-collar trained. And what people don't realize is it's an e-collar. It's not a shock collar. Now, used incorrectly, it can cause pain, right? But used correctly, it literally feels like a tapping sensation. So like my collar, if you put it on, yourself or most humans, we feel it at level 25. My dogs respond at between 8 and 12. If there's a lot of commotion going on, I might have to turn it up to 20. Yeah, so like this is a coaster, right? And this is another thing we can engrave on. This is slate. They can also do wooden coasters. You were able to train recall with your voice. Did you use treats, or how did you do your recall training? I don't know if you're familiar with like Great Pyrenees, but they're very stubborn animals, very stubborn dogs. My German Shepherd, English Shepherd mix, he will come the second I tell him to. My little dog will come about 95% of the time. And my big white Great Pyrenees, if she doesn't have a collar on and she is chasing something or just doesn't want no attention, she won't listen to you. Yeah, so I used treats when I was training my dogs until I got the Great Pyrenees. She just didn't respond to it. She's not food motivated. She's not toy motivated. She's not anything motivated. I don't even know how to explain it, but when you look at her, you can just see that she thinks that she's not a dog, and it's like she thinks she's a human, and that she should be able to do anything you want. Ah, shamed. I see what you're saying. What's funny is my Great Pyrenees, she does not like to be yelled at, right? She does not like to be yelled at. She'll sit here and squint, or if she gets into something that she knows she's not supposed to be into, she'll do that as well. She'll come around the corner and she'll be just squinting, and you're like, "What did you get into?" And they know when they do stuff they're not supposed to, just like people do. But that trash sure does smell tasty, you know, to them. So my daughter takes my German Shepherd, English Shepherd mix. His name's Diesel. She takes Diesel out with her to put the chickens away at night. But most of the time, the chickens are put away. It's the ducks. My ducks don't put themselves to bed at night. They won't go into the coop. So we gotta open the door and put them in. And most of the time, the chickens are in, but not always. We bought one of them solar-powered dusk to dawn or whatever, the doors, the automatic doors. And that thing, that you know, if I just had chickens, would be fantastic. But I feel like I wasted my money having the ducks because we got to go put them away every night anyway. Yeah, but so these are just blank coasters. They're slate, and they got like rubber feet on them. And I engrave a set of 4 of these, and we sell them shipped for $35. And we can do like any picture on them. We can do any sayings. We got, I've got a bunch of pre-made images ready to go, and yeah, the only time we really yell at the dog is when they're getting into something that's dangerous for them, like the trash, or they're getting up on the counter, things like that. But generally, we don't yell at them. I mean, our dogs are really good. They usually don't need to be yelled at, And I try doing the stern voice thing to them, and the problem is my fiance, she does her stern voice, which sounds like she's trying to play with them, So how did you teach them left and right? I've been trying to work with my dogs with my German Shepherd, English Shepherd, just because he loves to do anything with you, for you, Been trying to teach him to find things, Oh, that's an awesome name. Our German Shepherd, English Shepherd, when we got him, he was about 8 months old, but he was abused. He was neglected. When we went out to the lady's house to pick him up, like the tips of his ears were missing from the flies eating them, and she yelled at us that he wouldn't sleep in a kennel, and he'd just sit there and whine all night. The first night we got him home, because our dogs are crate trained. First night we got him home, he refused to go out at night, because apparently what had happened is she would kick him out at night and leave him outside all night long. And he thought that, we were going to do the exact same. And so it was kind of sad to see, but once he learned and realized, it took about 4 or 5 days for him to realize that wasn't going to happen at our place, and that he was always going to come back in. And once he realized that, it was a completely different dog. He went from being shy and to being, super excited about everything. Oh, that is so basic, yet makes so much sense on how to teach left and right. That's one of them duh moments, you know? Like, you know, I leash train my dogs, and it's the same thing as getting them to stop pulling, you know? Man. Well, thank you. I think I'm going to have to try that with my dogs. So what we got going on here is we got a Atomstack A5 laser, and it's an engraver slash cutter. This is upgraded version. It's got air assist on it to use during cutting. Very well built machine, but there is a design flaw on it that I would not recommend you buy it because of, and that's this this space between the head and the work surface. You've only got about 2 millimeters. And this back bracket actually hangs down a little bit lower, so it ends up being about 1.5 millimeters. I actually took this bracket off the laser head, flipped it upside down, put it back on to get myself a couple millimeter, you know, well, half millimeter clearance. And right now what we're doing is we're working on some settings to make some Christmas ornaments like this. And we're cutting it out of 1/8 inch thick or 3 millimeter plywood. It's really more like 4 millimeters, but it's supposed to be 3. Now this is a cat one, you know. And then we got this. But you can see how dark some of the edges are, especially on this cat where you got all that fine detail in the cat itself. So we're doing a second cut at a faster speed with a few more passes to try and get it to clear up a little bit. We'll just set these here as examples. This is kind of what we're trying to improve on. That's awesome, Lee. So I try, you know, as irritating as it gets sometimes, try to let my dogs bark when people are in my yard. But then we get after them for barking when people are on the road, you know, or on the other side, you know, in the neighbor's yard, something like that, where it's acceptable for people to be. Because I always want them to alert us, you know, if someone's breaking in or on our property that shouldn't be. We actually just had a trailer stolen about 2 months ago. They recovered it the next day. He was actually involved in a police chase. And, you know, feel like if my dogs were, you know, let loose to roam the house, they would have let me know that someone was in our yard. But unfortunately, you know, we crate train them because they get into stuff when they're not supposed to. I think this one here just might be a poor design. You see how thin that is right there? Let me see if I can zoom in. But you see how thin the handles of these spoons are? I don't think I'm going to get that to be able to cut. I think it was just a poor design in this file. Yeah, what I can do is I can once we're done with this, I can put a link to the Etsy shop. Or if you want something custom, you know, if you go to the About page on my channel, my email address is right there. You feel free to email me. Yeah, appreciate the subscription though. That really helps channel grow. We were up to 3,700 subscribers. We're down to 3,555 right now. I got COVID and I haven't put up any videos for about, well, almost over a month. So, but most of my videos were like repairs and such on like lawn tractors, 4-wheelers, and stuff like that. Lee, if you go to the community tab on my channel, so if you click on my name, the Fixing a Blind, down below the, are you on, well, if you're on phone or computer, you'll see the Fixing a Blind with my logo with the eagle. Click on that, it'll bring you to my channel page. And then at the top, you'll see About. Click on About. And my email address is right in there. It says for business inquiries. And it'll say view email address. You just click on that and it'll bring you right to it. But it's really simple. It's fixingitblind@gmail.com. Now my engraving business is called Optical Indulgence. Let's see. See if I can get a link down in there. You have an airplane? Man, that is so cool. What kind of plane do you have? Have you heard of, I'm sure you probably heard it. If you're into planes, you've heard of Cirrus Planes. My uncle used to be, what is it, CFO or something? He was one of the main engineers there for them. designing the plane with the parachute. His name was Steven. Sorry, I'm quiet here. I'm getting you a link to my Etsy store. There's not a whole lot on it right now because we just started this engraving business. Let's see, how do we do this? Believe. Yeah, all right. So, Oh yeah? So World War II airport, huh? So what did they, do you know what they had there? So I'm using my other channel, well, a channel that I just created not too long ago, to send you the link. So this link is the Etsy store. If you just copy and paste that, that'll bring you right to the Etsy store. So a little story about World War II, right? When I was younger, I just started wrenching on cars. Working for the shop, I was 18 years old, just started getting my ASC certifications and everything, and ended up leaving a shop that I was at, you know, for more money because you're young and dumb, right? So you just chase as much money as you can get, right? And I go to the shop, and we had this old man, awesome guy. He had to be in his late 90s at the time. And his name was George, and I'll never forget that man. He was in World War II, and he was a gunner on the belly of one of the bombers. I think it was. I think it's a bomber that it was. But that's what his job was. He said he was in the little bulb with the gun underneath the plane. It was always so cool. You'd come in and he'd just, you'd be working on some cars for a customer or whatever, and he'd just wander up to you and he'd just start telling you stories. It was the best time. I always try, even like my customers at my Airbnb and my shop, when they come in, to get their story, hear their story, There's so much, so much things so much knowledge that a lot of our elderly people have that, is just going to get lost because nobody cares anymore, And so I always like to get their story, what happened in their life, where they grew up, everything like that. Try to learn something from them. I try to learn something new every day. So how long have you had your pilot's license? Thought about picking up one of them paramotors, them parachutes with the motor on them, But I just figure, probably not a good idea with my eyes, Yeah, I'm going to copy that down right now, and I'll take a look at it. Marietta Airport. All right, I got that bookmarked right now. I'm a couple different websites to look at. You have a blessed night as well. Thanks for coming and visit and watching on this. Anyway, if you want to order anything, just let me know. You can email me or contact me through Etsy. You have a good night. Yeah, I can give you a call probably tomorrow. Come on, focus. There you go. Good night. You have a good evening. Yeah, B-52. That's what it was. Them big bombers. I think we still use those to this day. Come on. Focus down here. There we go. All right, well, we've been going for about an hour and a half. I'm going to call her quits. You guys have a great night. Thanks for watching. Oh, I guess someone just joined here. So basically what we're doing here is we're doing some laser engraving with a Atomstack A5. This is the Pro version, but it is upgraded. It's got the air assist as well, which is this back here. It's basically an air pump that pumps air through this hose here, and then it goes down and keeps the lens clear of debris and such. Basically what we're doing right now is we're doing some tests on some finer detailed items. So we're making some Christmas ornaments, right? And like you can see here, this one turned out pretty good. And this one didn't turn out too bad, but you can see in the cat there, where there's a snowflake inside the cat, it burned quite a bit, and so it's going to take some sanding to bring that wood color back. And so what we're doing now is we're trying another test with twice the speed and twice as many passes, so it'll be less heat per pass, trying to get rid of some of that excess burning. But you can see over here, it's still burning those dark spots, and it's not quite cutting all the way through, so we're gonna have to do, probably another extra pass. And so if you've followed my channel before, normally I do like small engine repair videos and such, but today we're doing some laser engraving. It's a new business that we started. We do, I can do anything from like slate coasters like these here. Sorry, the machine's in the way, but they're 4-inch coasters. They got little rubber feet on the back, and we can put photos and sayings, words, whatever you'd like on them. And in the in the thing there, the comments, I've got a link to our Etsy store. If you wanted to check that out, you're more than welcome to. But if you guys have any questions, feel free to let me know. The one downside to this laser specifically is, here, let me pull you guys out of the holder here for a second, is you see how right here, there's only about a 2 to 3 millimeter gap between the laser and the workpiece. So what happens is this plywood, right, it will always have a bow in it. Every single time. You can never get a flat piece of plywood. If you have a trick to getting only flat pieces of plywood, let me know. But what I have issues with is this part here, right here, this bolts onto the laser. This is your laser head, and this part here hangs down below and will move the wood. It'll catch the wood and move the wood. Anyway, guys, we've been going for about an hour and 40 minutes now, so we're gonna call our quits for the night. You guys have a great night. Thanks for watching.